Prepare to dive into a dark and disturbing mystery. Gregory Ramos, a 15-year-old student, seemed to belong to a normal family, or at least that's what his neighbors believed. But this image changed drastically between the dawn of Thursday, November 1st, and Friday, November 2nd. Gregory Ramos, after a discussion about his school grades, committed a horrible act. What dark secrets lie behind this facade of normality? Join me as we unravel the mysteries and horrors surrounding this shocking case. Gail Cleavenger was an architect who collaborated with various companies in Central Florida. She graduated in architecture from the University of Miami in 1995 and also studied international studies at the Glasgow School of Art. Being the youngest of 6 siblings, Gail lived with her teenage son, Gregory Ramos, whom she raised alone for most of his life. Her second marriage also did not last long. The relationship between mother and son was good, and Gail always strived to provide everything her son needed, according to friends and family. On November 2, 2018, when Gregory returned from school, he decided to contact the police to report his mother's disappearance. He explained to the emergency operator that upon returning home, he did not find Gail and that the house was disorganized, with the back door broken, which seemed to indicate a robbery. Gregory also mentioned that he had called his mother's workplace and discovered that she had not shown up that day, which increased his concern, leading him to call 911. However, when giving his statement, the police began to notice that the boy seemed nervous and frequently contradicted himself. Eventually, he confessed to having murdered his mother. The tragic death of Gail resulted from an intense argument with Gregory, which occurred because she complained about his poor academic performance in one of his high school subjects in Orlando. According to the statement made by the Volusia County Sheriff, the fight began around 8:45 p.m. on November 1, 2018. Supposedly, Gail slapped Gregory's face, and he went to his room upset. He then called his father, who was on a business trip in Washington state, and decided to go to sleep. In the early hours of Friday, November 2nd, Gregory returned to his mother's room, and the argument resumed, culminating in him strangling her with his own hands, according to his sworn statement. In an area near the floor and the wall, he began to strangle her. After about half an hour, the teenager went out in search of a wheelbarrow to transport his mother's body. However, upon returning to the room, he found his mother still breathing. In fact, she was moving on the floor. Instead of helping her, he jumped on her and strangled her again until she finally stopped breathing. The police report revealed that Gregory claimed in his defense that he needed to kill his mother because he believed that otherwise, she would kill him at any moment with a forklift. The young man transferred his deceased mother's body to the car and drove to the Holly Hill area. However, he regretted leaving her there and returned to DeBerry, where he took a shovel and then went to a church on Riverside Drive, about 2.5 miles from home. There, he dug a hole so shallow that one of Gail's feet was completely exposed. Thus, the authorities discovered the body on Saturday, November 3, 2018, a day after the crime. The agents commented that Gregory did not seem to show remorse. On the contrary, he seemed proud of what he had done while recounting his actions with a carefree attitude. Despite Gregory Ramos being responsible for the murder of Gail Cleavenger, his mother, 2 of his friends helped cover up the case. Dylan and Brian, both 17 years old and students at a high school in Orlando, not only tidied up the crime scene to simulate a robbery before making the emergency call, but also were the ones who actually buried the woman. It was Dylan and Brian who informed the police where Gail's body had been found. After conversations and several hours of interrogation, Gregory confessed. During the investigations, it was discovered that the choice of that specific church to dispose of the body was. After the trial, Gregory seemed remorseful for his actions, as he wrote a letter that he read before the judge, in which he stated that he never truly knew himself because of his actions. He said that he not only took his mother from him but also caused irreversible harm to the world by acting that way. Gregory refused to shirk his responsibilities and asked for forgiveness. Additionally, he pleaded for clemency for his colleagues, stating that he did not deserve the forgiveness he was granted but begged for mercy to be extended to his co-defendants, saying they should not be punished for his actions. Gregory highlighted that the gravity of the situation was only realized when the law intervened and that they fully cooperated with the police. Ramos asked for clemency for Dylan and Brian. "I am responsible for the crimes I am accused of," Ramos declared. "I do not deserve the compassion that has been granted to me, but today I ask that this compassion be extended to my co-defendants. They should not be punished for my actions." They never understood the gravity of the crime or took the situation seriously until the police got involved. When they were arrested, they fully cooperated with the authorities. Assistant District Attorney Andrew Urbanak called several of Cleavenger's family members to testify. Among them was her brother, Joseph Goretzky, the only one she had, along with 4 sisters. Goretzky described Cleavenger as a kind woman who deeply loved her son, her husband, her family, and friends. Ivy Wick, one of Cleavenger's sisters, also gave her testimony, portraying her younger sister, who was 22 months younger, as fearless and extremely independent. She recalled how they shared Barbie dolls in childhood and used to stay up late talking. Wick mentioned that they took violin lessons together and that Cleavenger, who graduated in architecture from the University of Miami, was talented in various forms of art. She also commented that Cleavenger had managed to overcome an abusive marriage before joining Ramos's stepfather. Wick highlighted how many hours Cleavenger dedicated to scouting, where Ramos was a member, and also mentioned that they trained karate together. She reflected on her last conversation with her sister. "I can't remember if I told her I loved her in our last conversation," Wick confessed. In court on Friday, Ramos apologized to Wick and other relatives. He expressed regret to his stepfather, who was on a business trip when his mother's murder occurred. Additionally, Ramos thanked his grandmother for forgiving him from the start. "Grandma, thank you for forgiving me from the first day," he said. "I appreciate all your support." Ramos said his grandmother kept him updated with text messages and emails, even when he was under suicide watch in jail. He mentioned that he tries to be guided by his mother's memory. "Every day, I do my best to honor her memory," Ramos said. "I try to live the way she would want me to live." Ramos mentioned that he managed to complete high school and strives to help other inmates with their studies and legal issues. Gregory, in turn, told the jury members that all the neighbors were surprised by the crime committed by the teenager, who seemed to be a good boy. But, as they say, appearances can indeed be deceiving. The case of Gregory Ramos is a disturbing example of how violence can arise in unexpected and seemingly normal contexts. The story of a young man who, after a discussion about school grades, commits such a brutal act against his own mother raises deep questions about family dynamics, mental health, and the influence of the social environment. Firstly, it is crucial to reflect on the pressure that young people face regarding academic performance. Society often places a disproportionate emphasis on grades and academic success, which can generate immense stress. In Gregory's case, this pressure seems to have been a triggering factor for an extreme act of violence. This leads us to question whether we are providing adequate emotional and psychological support for young people facing these pressures. Furthermore, the participation of Gregory's friends in covering up the crime highlights the influence of the social group and the lack of moral discernment in crisis situations. The decision to fake a robbery and the attempt to hide the body show an alarming disconnection from the gravity of the act committed. This suggests the need for more robust education on empathy, responsibility, and the consequences of actions. Finally, the justice response, with the conviction of Gregory and his accomplices, and the reaction of the families involved, reveal the complexity of dealing with crimes committed by minors. The sentence of 45 years in prison, with a possibility of review after 25 years, reflects a balance between punishment and the hope of rehabilitation. However, it is essential to consider how the justice system can better support the rehabilitation and reintegration of these young people into society while providing justice for the victims and their families. If you enjoyed this video, take the opportunity to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Every subscription and comment is crucial for me to continue producing interesting content for you. I greatly appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you in the next video.